Hey, my name is Laneeka, and I am a writing tutor at Pierce College. I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you as a peer and student myself. I specifically wanted to reach out and say, hey, take a breath. Whenever a new quarter comes around, we get these butterflies in our stomach, and maybe even a sense of dread from thinking about the influx of work that we are about to receive. I've always wondered if these feelings are normal and if they'll go away. I started to reflect on when I feel the most anxious. Through some deep sighs, lots of caffeine, and many assignments, I was able to see that I hated writing. I know, it's probably a big shock to hear that coming from the English major. However, there's more to my relationship with writing than I had thought, and I suspect it is a similar case with you. All throughout my K-12 education, I was told there was a certain way to write. I've heard words thrown around like scholarly, academic, professional. These words meant different things to each teacher I had met. They each had a different way of teaching me how to write correct, good, or strong papers. But that was the thing. It was their way. Instead of letting me find what ways of writing work best for me, they gave me the same cookie-cutter rubric that had stifled so many other students' creativity. The focus on grammar and, the dreaded 5-paragraph essay was what I hated about writing. What is the point of writing if I'm just going to sound like everybody else? I might as well let my friend write my paper for $20, or better yet, get AI to do it for free. When we think about writing, it is easy to get into cycles of self-doubt because our voice of reason, curiosity, and desire is brought to the forefront. Over time, we struggle to get the grade until we've learned to hide it. Stifle that voice and fit into the perfect A column of the rubric. Getting the passing grade is what matters, right? Wrong. We need to think outside of the box to navigate a world full of problems, opinions, controversy, and gossip. This can only happen when we learn to give ourselves grace. I'm going to try not to turn this into a sermon, but it is important that we understand what grace is and what part it plays in writing. You may be thinking that grace is just giving ourselves leniency to slack off and abandon all conventions of writing, so let me make it clear. I am not asking you to be rebels. Giving grace is more about the act of giving your own perspectives, attention, and validation. This is a gift that you can grant yourself without having to earn it from others. It's about honoring your own authentic and genuine responses to writing. Essentially, you're giving yourself the freedom of choice. This doesn't come through abandoning standards of writing. Instead, you are acknowledging the existence of these standards and deciding how you conform them to fit who you are. I remember when I was writing my first college-level essay, I felt the need to write a perfect paper, but it ended up being one of the most fictitious, deceptive, and hollow essays I'd ever written. In part because I was writing what I thought the teacher wanted. There are going to be times in our career where people want or expect us to write things in a certain format. I don't hate that people have expectations. I hate that I fear the expectations that people have of me. I'm afraid that if I do not follow expectations, I will have no other purpose in writing. This is simply not true. We are so much more than our grade. When we start to ask ourselves, why am I really writing this? We can begin to make choices for ourselves and stop hating our own voice. How many of you can say that you've lied in a paper before? I know I have. I've written essays that support something I don't believe or even have interest in. I didn't realize that this is doing myself an injustice. I'm essentially undervaluing my own perspectives. If I won't even give effort to supporting my idea because I'm busy trying to please others, I'm not fully being honest about why I'm writing it. That's why it's also important to consider the question, who am I trying to impact? Despite teachers training us to just write to them, there are much larger audiences that we could possibly encounter in the real world. Considering who is going to change how you write. For example, an email to a boss will look different than a letter to a friend. Although I had implied that we shouldn't write to please others, we should write to impact others without losing ourselves in the message. We can do this by asking the question, how do I see myself in my writing? If you don't see yourself at all, then you are not fully granting yourself the gift of writing. Let me clarify that seeing yourself in your writing is not the same as writing in the ways that you speak. It goes beyond the tone of your writing and further into the stylistic and rhetorical choices you make through your autonomy as a writer, the creator, and the sole proprietor of your work. For me, seeing myself in my writing means that I'm making conscious decisions about forming perspective and position, adding details that suit my interests, and telling the story and essay in the ways that I encounter the ideas. Different scenarios do call for different forms, styles, and considerations, and I'm not saying that seeing yourself in your writing means being subjective and biased, but rather it is about making conscious decisions in your writing and seeing clearly how they contribute to your purpose and audience. When we give ourselves grace in our writing and honor our voice, we exit the guessing game that we've played throughout our education. We stop writing based on what we think others will like and instead write what is authentic to what we believe, what we desire, and who we are. Writing becomes a lot more enjoyable. In preparation for a world beyond school, it is important to tap into our own voice and ask ourselves questions about the choices we are making in our writing. It's time to step out of the rubric box and step into grace. And there are so many resources your college offers that can help you do this, such as the Writing Center. Resources like this provide you free access to peer tutors who can understand the struggles of being a college student and can practice giving grace alongside you. Next time you are having difficulties finding your own voice in your writing, consider utilizing the Writing Center for growth and development. This is Laneeka Jones. Thank you for watching this presentation that has been brought to you by the Pierce College Writing Center.